This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor, Kilo Victor. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Jim. I talked to you last Friday morning. KC9 Victor, King Victor. This is K1 Germany, Zebra London, K1 GZL up here in northern New Hampshire at Clarksville. And I want to thank you very much for your programming last Friday. I wanted to mention one thing when I was talking about my experience at the ARRL in 1951. My call at that time was W2 Zebra George, W2ZGG, and it was around 1960 that I did get my license as K1GZL, living in Maine, just north of Portland, Maine at that time. You sound great this morning. KC9 Victor, King Victor, K1GZL.
Roger, George. I think it is. Thank you for the report. It seems to be, it's hard to tell about this band at this hour. I just have been contemplating maybe moving this to an afternoon, maybe like 3 o'clock. Conditions might be better on 40 at that time. What do you think?
Well, it's hard to say. You have to try it out. You may have a point there. Because we are getting into the zone of the sun going down earlier and earlier, and it may be okay, even 4 o'clock. I'm not sure if you're on daylight time or standard time. I'm sorry about that. Central time over Eastern time. I know you're right near the border in southern Indiana there, but it could be that 3 or I'll leave it up to you. I'll leave it up to you. But right now your signal is great. You're well over 9. I was just going to mention that situation in Panama. That would only take about a minute if you wanted to include that. The name is Charlie. The handle here is Charlie, L-E-Y on the last 3 letters. KC9 Victor, King Victor, K1GZL, up in northern New Hampshire at Clarksville, right on the Canadian border.
Roger, Charlie. I'm sorry. I was trusted my memory, and there you go. You get to a certain age, you can't trust your memory. But anyway, I think it's really unfortunate that our 100-watt friends are not showing up too good at the 400 and 500-mile mark with this band where it is. I think 100 watts is the backbone of amateur radio, and I would like to perform a better service for them and have them sound better in their check-ins as they do, unfortunately, particularly at this hour. Because 100 watts at 300 or 400 miles is now coming in at about 1 to 2 dB above my noise level. So, they're right there towards the noise. Roger?
Yeah, absolutely there, Jim. I understand that. And, it's hard to make any kind of a recording of anybody that is hard to copy. If you'd like, I'll give you a little idea what happened to me in Panama. Go ahead.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Well, it turned out to be I got out of the Navy in late March of 1954. And my mother, myself, and my dad, we decided to take a trip down to Panama. So we got on it's either the Cristobal or the Panama. We went down on one and came back on the other. But anyway, we got down to Panama and ended up in Panama City. And I noticed that they had a flight. They had a plane that would fly out of there and go over to the San Blas Islands. These are islands, you have to cross the Isthmus of Panama, right over the Darien jungle, and land on these islands. So that's fine. Worked out well. I got over there, and it was a nice flight. And we landed, and it was amazing. It was like going back into a movie or something. All you had were a grass shack, and everybody and all the people under the age of 7 were completely naked. And you had grass huts, and the fellow that greeted us, the pilot and myself, name was Iglesia, and I think that means the church in Espanol. So, but the pilot had to go back to Panama City and leave me there overnight because he had something, was worried about his plane. So he told me to stay with Iglesia as his guest. So fine. So after he took off, Iglesia took me through what we would call the witch doctor's hut or something, and this was a long deal. Oh gosh, must have been 60, 70 feet long, grass thatch, and all the living arrangements for grass thatch. And we went inside, and he was telling me this helps cure this. That doll works with the people to help cure that. And there were piles and piles of trinkets and everything you can think of. And there, right in the middle of all of this, was this toilet seat. And I said, Iglesia, why is there a toilet seat on top of all these, all of everything else here? He looks me right in the eye and says, that's your hemorrhoids, KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger. Now, you were you in the headhunter land there?
Oh, yes. They were telling me that there were headhunters in the Darien jungles as we flew over it, and that was, I wouldn't say exactly comforting. Go ahead.
Roger that. Yeah, it's tough on an airplane if you have to come in there and land amongst the headhunters without anything to barter with, too much. You kind of, you're at peril. There have been quite a few very wealthy people that have probably more money than they have since, that have disappeared in those jungles and probably were a dinner for some tribes. Roger?
I would say that's a strong possibility, Jim. But it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And these grass homes of these people, it's like you're almost in a movie. And I was expecting Humphrey Bogart to come out any minute out of one of them, Gord.
Roger, sailing as African Queen there. That was a great movie. Well, Charlie, I appreciate your checking in this morning, as always, as recent, and thanks for doing that, sir, and you're sounding, you're 10 dB over my noise level, so you're doing a great job, Roger.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much for the report, and I want to thank you again, Jim, for, excuse my voice, it goes out in the morning occasionally. It's a pleasure, and I hope you find the time that you can hear the lower powered stations in the afternoon. So I'll sign with you on this one. I want to thank you again, just for the heck of it. As I stand by for you there, I'll give you an idea, a couple seconds of how you're coming in here.
Yeah, since that have disappeared in those jungles and probably were a dinner for some tribes.
Roger on that, and I hope you could hear that. Okay, Jim, I'm going to go down to 37 watts. Let me go barefoot here. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm running 37 watts right now. I wonder how that is coming through. KC9VKV, K1GZL.
Roger, Charlie. You dropped well, to about 2 dB above my noise level. About it from 1.5 dB to 2 dB above my noise level, Roger, from a 10 over my noise level.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and good luck on everything. And this is October 19th, 2018. K1GZL signing clear with KC9VKV. Thank you again, Jim.
Roger that, sir. Roger that. And just out of curiosity, what would you be doing, say, around, say 3 o'clock this afternoon?
Okay, are you on Standard Time, or are you on, are you on Eastern Time, or are you on Central Time?
We're on Eastern Time.
Okay, I know you're near the line in southern Indiana. Yeah, I could try it at 3 o'clock, yes. And plus or minus this frequency, whatever's available. I could call you, or you could call me. Go ahead.
Roger, Roger. Well, we'll start on this one and move off if need be at about 3 p.m. My time, 3 p.m. Eastern. Roger, Roger.
Roger on that, Jim. We'll give it a try, and we'll see what the band is like. K1GZL. Nothing like experimentation.
Roger, Roger. Well, you're currently 10 dB over my noise level, so maybe this afternoon at 3 you might be 15 over, which would be 5 dB increase in signal strength, which would mean maybe a 5 dB increase in those that are running 100 watts, which instead of a 2 dB over noise level, it would be a 7, which would be a much better, quieter signal. Anyway, Charlie, thank you so much, and we'll look for you at 3 this afternoon. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor.
Okay, thank you very much, Jim, and hopefully we'll have good propagation at 3 o'clock. K1GZL off and clear.
This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, with the Friday afternoon, or Friday morning, actually, QSO-VLOG program between 10:30 and noon, and on 7189. If you happen to have a radio, you want to check out the modulation, we are recording, and we will be posting this up on YouTube, and you'll be able to go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page, and the session this morning will be titled My Group Aircheck 10-19-18, frequency 7189. So today's date 10-19-18, and the frequency 7189. So that's how you'll know what this session is to find it, because usually we manage to talk to so many folks and so many call signs that we can't put them all in the title itself. So we just use the date and the time as the frequency as a reference. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor.
November Delta 8, Golf Alpha.
November 8 station, come back with a call sign.
Yes, thank you. 2 by 2. November Delta 8, Golf Alpha, School Club in the Roundup. Name is Ken, Kilo Echo November. You're 5 by 9.
Roger, Ken. Good morning to you, sir. Come back and let me see what you're doing here.
Okay, well, we're running the School Club Roundup. This is Gilmore Academy. I spell golf, India, Lima, Mike, Oscar, Uniform, Romeo. We are on the east side of Cleveland in Cleveland, Ohio, and our school is in the School Club Roundup. So I wanted to log at least your station and get out of your way. How's that? Kilo Charlie 9, Victor, Kilo Victor. Could you give us a report, Jim?
Oh, sure. Now, I can't give you an S meter reading because I have my RF gain dialed way, way back to just barely enough to get the job done. But I can give you a VU meter reading, and you are 8 dB above my noise level. You are 8 dB above my noise level, so that's a really good signal. So just out of curiosity, how many folks do you have in your school club?
Well, we have about a dozen or so. They're mostly in class right now. I'm in the shack just getting us some points as well, Tim. And we have perhaps about 600 or 700 if you count the little ones in the Montessori level all the way up to 12th grade. Pretty good-sized independent school here in Cleveland. Back to you.
Roger, Roger. Now, what kind of radio and what kind of setup you got there?
Well, what we're using at the moment is pretty simple. It's an IC746 Pro going directly to a tuned dipole on the roof of the building. So we have a tuned 40-meter dipole, and it's actually propagating east-west, but we seem to be getting to you in Indiana just fine. What's your location in Indiana?
We are just 3 miles from downtown Louisville. We're on the Indiana side of the Ohio River, right at Louisville. Roger.
Okay, very good. Well, I don't want to tie you up, but we'll put it down as a 5.9, and we'll give you a 5.9 and to take off. How's that?
Well, don't rush off, Ken. You know, we are recording our QSO-VLOG program for Friday morning, and then we post it in a couple of days up on YouTube. And if you're interested to hear what your station sounds like, you can go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor KC9VKV. That'll bring up our QSO-VLOG page, and look for a session called My Group Aircheck, date 10/19/18, frequency 7189. Roger, roger.
Roger, roger. Thank you. Take care. 7-3. This is November Delta 8 Golf Alpha. We'll look it up.
Roger, roger, Ken. 3's that away, and continue good progress with your pupils there in the school ham radio project. This is KC9VKV.
Kilo Delta 2, Alpha Bravo X-ray.
Delta 2 station, come again with your call sign?
This is Kilo Delta 2, Alpha Bravo X-ray, located in southern New Jersey. You're 20 over S9 here.
Roger, in New Jersey, is that a Roger?
Yeah, that's it for me.
Roger, roger, and what's the name up that way?
The handle is Mark Alpha Romeo Kilo.
Roger, Mark. This is Jim, Juliet India Mike, and we are located near Louisville, Kentucky. We're about 3 miles from downtown Louisville on the Indiana side of the mighty Ohio River. Roger?
Yeah, I have a very strong signal of you. You're peaking up to 30 over S9, so looks like there's no problem between you and I.
Roger, roger, Mark. Now, are you running 100 watts or so?
This radio is actually a 200-watt radio, but I am running 100 watts right now out of it. I'm using a 4L Miyagi. That's actually a rotatable dipole on this band, but it does have some pointing properties there. QSO?
Roger, roger. Now, I'm just looking at your signal audio-wise on a VU meter, and you are 6 dB above my noise level. Usually at this hour on this frequency, 100 watts at 300 miles or 400 miles or so gives me about a 2 dB over my noise level. So you're doing exceptionally well. Roger?
Yeah, I hit different parts of the country very well, and have problems with other areas, of course. I don't know why, but I do. I guess the antenna is in a certain angle or a certain way of the height that accentuates certain areas. But anyway, I just wanted to get in there. Yeah, you're a very strong signal, and I hear a lot of people trying to get back to you. So I appreciate the call. KC9VKV, you're fine.
Roger, roger, Mark. 3's that away, sir. Have a good day, and thanks for checking in. This is Kilo Charlie 9 QSO-VLOG time from 10:30 till noon on 7189. So if you have a radio, you want to check the audio, give me a shout. We are recording, and we'll post it on YouTube within the next couple of days, and you'll be able to go there and hear your audio. This is KC9VKV.
Whiskey 7, Foxtrot India Zulu.
The Foxtrot India station, come back with your call sign.
Whiskey 7, Foxtrot India Zulu.
Kilo Delta 9, Lima.
All righty, Whiskey 9 Foxtrot India Delta, is that a Roger?
Negative. Whiskey 7, Foxtrot India Zulu. I'm going to take my compression off, see if that's better. Whiskey 7, Foxtrot India Zulu. QSL?
Roger, gotcha now. I was running with a pen that refused to write. I always get the ones that run out of ink right at the critical times. Roger?
Oh, Roger. I I know all about that. That's good stuff. I appreciate your service. This is really neat. I never heard of such a thing, and I'm super excited. I'll have to understand how to connect to or find you online there, Roger.
Roger, well, all you got to do is go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, and that will bring up our QSO-VLOG page, and you'll find a QSO entitled My Group Aircheck, My Group Aircheck, the date 10/19/18, 10/19/18, and the frequency 7184. I'm sorry, 7189. That was when my pen stopped working. Frequency 7189. Roger?
Roger, that's good stuff. I love it. Well, thanks so much for posting those. I actually see them on there, and I'm really impressed. That's good stuff. That's a great service you're offering there. You're about 3 over, 4 over maybe, sounding pretty good in here into St. Louis, Missouri, just about 30 minutes or so to the west of St. Louis down I-70, yeah.
Roger, what's the name there?
My name's Adam, Alpha Delta Alpha Mary.
Roger, and what's your station? Can you describe your station?
Oh, yeah, thanks. So I run an ICOM IC756 Pro, and it's just running right now. I guess I'm about 55, 60 watts coming out to you, and I go through an AT1000 auto tuner, which is a LDG product, really nice. I love that unit. And then feed line on an LMR 400 out to a Butternut 6. So takes me up to about 80 meters. Need to figure out how to get that 160 out of there. Being in a coveted environment, they don't go for big antennas here. So still working on that 160 meter. But otherwise, love the station, QSL.
Roger. Now, is that an outboard tuner?
Yeah, an outboard tuner. Yeah, it was a 1,000-watt outboard tuner. My next step will be to pick up a reasonable size amp. I can only run up to 100, of course, on that 756 Pro.
Roger. Well, those outboard tuners should do like a 6 standing wave. So, have you tried the lower frequencies with your radio, and will it tune that antenna?
Really? So I can go everything but 160, and at 160 I end up with like a 2.5 SWR. So only at 100 watts it's pretty ineffective, and I'm not sure if I had more that I would want to reflect that energy back.
Yeah, Roger. Well, I never go to 160, only occasionally. Usually 80 is about the lowest I go. And mainly I'm doing 40 meters these days. We're going to do a little experiment this afternoon at about 3 o'clock to see if a later time for our QSO-VLOG might be better than this time on this frequency. Roger?
Yeah, well, tell me the frequency again on that.
We'll be on this frequency, 7189, at about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and we'll see how conditions are at that time. Roger?
Oh, that'll be great. Tell me again the time zone.
It's Eastern Standard Time. Roger?
Yeah, Roger. Good. Sounds great. I'll make sure that I'll try to be here. We'll see if we're going to go work on the trailer maybe today. We got a few radios or more out in the travel trailer, and so I might try to hit you from there. That would even be cool. See if I can get you from the Tar Heel here on our mobile station. That'd be good stuff. So maybe I'll look you up there. Thanks for letting me know about that.
Roger. Well, it's an experiment. I'm trying to find a better time for my 100-watt friends, because right now 100 watts at 300 to 400 miles is coming into me at about a dB or 2 dB above my noise level. So it's really unfortunate. So maybe in the afternoon band conditions might be better. Roger?
Yeah. Now, how do you hear me? Because I'm not giving you even close to 100 watts.
I'm copying you at 10 dB over my noise level, so you're doing real well.
Yeah, wow, okay. Yeah, that's good to know. All right, well, I'll let you go and still let somebody else hop on. I really appreciate the QSO and the service that you're offering. 73 to you, and thanks so much.
Roger. What's your location one more time?
QTH is St. Louis, Missouri.
Well, great. That will be an interesting check on propagation conditions to the west. Roger, roger.
Yeah, roger. That'll be great. Thanks again. Whiskey 7 Foxtrot India Zulu will be clear and monitoring.
Roger, roger. 3 is that away, Adam, and thanks for checking in. And maybe we'll join this afternoon and check things out at that time, 3 o'clock. 3s. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. We are recording as I speak, and if you have a radio that you want to check out the modulation on, give us a shout. We are recording, and we will post this up on YouTube within the next couple of days, and you'll be able to go there and find your this QSO-VLOG, which will be entitled My Group Aircheck. The frequency is 7189, and the date is 10/19/18. This is KC9VKV.
Alpha Bravo 9, Radio Yankee. Kilo Delta 9.
Bravo 9 station. Bravo 9 station. Come back with your call sign.
Alpha Bravo 9, Radio Yankee. Over.
What's the first part?
Alpha Bravo 9, Radio Yankee. Over.
Gotcha. This is Jim, KC9VKV. What's the name that way?
Okay, Jim, name of this end is Tom, tired old man, and I see you're in New Albany, Indiana. I heard you say Eastern Time Zone, so where the heck is New Albany? We're in Griffith, Indiana, which is in the northwest corner of the state. Over.
Roger. New Albany, Indiana is about 3 miles from downtown Louisville. We're just across the river from Louisville, Kentucky, in New Albany, Indiana, about 3 miles from downtown.
Okay, well, I knew I'd heard of it before. I couldn't quite remember where it was, but you kind of refreshed my memory there. Well, doggone, you got a nice 5-9 signal up here into the armpit of Indiana, way up in the northwest corner, often called the armpit, I guess because it's up in the northwest corner, and I guess it's also because we're about 30 miles southeast of the city of Chicago. Over.
Oh, roger that. Well, you're banging on down this way. You are sounding good, about 5 dB above my noise level. Roger.
Roger that. Well, hey, I was just trying out the last 2 days. We moved into a new house in March, and of course there's an HOA. I had a 43-foot vertical, and I cut it down to 31 feet, and wanted to see if it was playing. I've made a few contacts on it, and it seems like it works. I'm not getting the SWR down to below about 1.8, 1.9, but seems to be working anyway. Over.
Oh, roger that. Well, you know, anything above or below 1.8 is, just a game. I love to play the game, though. This antenna that I'm on now is running a 1.01 to 1. It's just, like I say, it's just a game to get it on down, but, I love to play the game, Roger.
Roger that. Well, hey, we're not losing too much power as you get up to 1.8, 1.9, but, hey, at least it works. I painted that cut-down vertical black so it kind of blends in with the tree line behind us, and you look at it from the front of the house, you really have to look close in order to see it. So I got a little bit of wire hidden up in the tree and the vertical, and once the leaves go away, I'll get some more wire up there and have a few better choices, hopefully. Over.
Oh, roger that. I was talking to somebody at a college. I think they were in a dormitory, and I think they were using a 20-gauge wire on their dipole. 20 gauge. You can't even see that from 20 feet away.
Yeah, I tell you, I've heard some amazing stories about antennas that work. Older gentleman several years ago told me how to make a good 160 antenna out of basically telephone wire, bell wire, wrapping coils around a piece of PVC, and I tell you, he said it's the best little 160 antenna that can't be seen anywhere that he's ever used, and I tell you, it's kind of amazing what'll work. Gutters, attic antennas, I guess there's no end to it. You just have to try something. Over.
Roger that. And I got a little note, a little memo to myself that at the current time, I'm bypassing limiter 1. bypassing limiter 1 at the current time. Well, you're sounding mighty good back this way. I appreciate you checking in. And like I say, we will be posting this on the YouTube within the next couple of days. So if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, that will be our QSO page. And when it opens, look for the QSO-VLOG entitled My Group Aircheck, with a date of 10/19/18 and a frequency of 7189. Roger, Roger.
Roger that. Well, hey, this is a new one for me, Jim, and we'll certainly do that in a couple days. We'll do a search for it and see how this little simple 100-watt station is working in actual time there. Jim, thanks very much. Appreciate it. KC9VKV, AB9RY in Griffith, Indiana. We'll say 73, and thanks a lot, Jim.
Roger, Roger. 3 is that away, and have a good day. Thanks for checking in. This is KC9VKV with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio that you want to check out the audio on, give us a shout. We are recording, and we'll post it within the next couple of days on YouTube. KC9VKV.
Kilo India 4, Mike Oscar Alpha.
Kilo India 4 station, come back with a call sign.
Kilo India 4, Mike Oscar Alpha.
Okay, Kilo India 4, Mike, what was the rest, please?
Oscar Alpha. That would be Kilo India 4, Mike Oscar Alpha. The name is Larry, Lima Alpha Romeo Romeo Yankee, and I'm from Kentucky, Pikeville, Kentucky, like in Pikes Peak. Over.
Roger, Roger, Mary. Thanks for dropping in. I wonder how far you are away from Louisville, Kentucky.
That on the drive, that's about a 4-hour drive. I would say about, I don't know, 250, 260 miles maybe as the crow flies.
Roger, Roger. Yeah, I was thinking something like that, because usually, you know, it's amazing. When you get like within 100 miles, 75 miles or something like that, you know, you have to get relays from New Mexico, Roger.
Roger, yeah. And yeah, they had the little antenna discussion. I am on the cheapest little antenna that you could actually imagine out here, what I'm talking on right now. Over.
Well, fill us in on that El Cheapo antenna.
It's a little high gain. I think it's an 18, STV 18, I think is what they call it. I think they were maybe $100 back in the late 60s, and they're still not much over $100. It's just more or less just a little 18-foot stick, a ground mount antenna. You may remember them. They had the little coil at the bottom. You had to tap the coil if you weren't using a tuner. Over.
Is that anything like? Gosh, I don't know. It's a vertical radiator. Is it a coil almost all the way?
Negative. It's got a little old coil down at the bottom, and it's aluminum. It's about like a slinky or a short section of a slinky, a little aluminum coil there, down at the main bottom there. And I think when I bought this thing several years ago, it was still, I think it was $109.
Roger, Mary. Well, you got a real good deal there, and I'm assuming that obviously would be vertically polarized, Roger.
Roger. Yeah, it's kind of a backup antenna. I've got an 80-meter loop. My main antenna is an 80-meter Skywave. It's a 4-sided loop. But this one loads up pretty good some days, and it's the one I'm talking on today. Over.
Roger. Well, you're about 12 dB above my noise level, so that's a really good signal. And, you know, I have found, like on UHF and VHF, when you start, say, vertically polarized, at 400 or 500 miles, the signal is still basically vertically polarized. It doesn't really shift its phase angle very much. So if that were true with you, that would mean that if I were to go on the vertical side, I would probably pick up another 10 dB of signal strength, Roger.
Roger, yeah, that makes sense. I don't, it's not really good for DX, but, when the band is stretched out, when the band is long, this is kind of my go-to antenna. It seems like I do get a little bit more distance out of it. Over.
Oh, roger that. Yeah, roger that. Now, me personally, I believe that most of my skywave stuff is coming in on the horizontal plane. I've checked that from time to time, and you're a lot hotter on the horizontal side than on the vertical side. But then at the same time, there is the question of the directionality of the horizontal dipole, whether it's running north and south, east and west, all that stuff. Because that does also play into the received signal strength, Roger.
Roger, yeah. I could do a little A-B comparison. It doesn't, I got an auto tuner, doesn't do it. Just take a second to change over on the loop, over.
Oh, you have a, okay. How big is your loop?
It's, let me see, that would be, I think, 66 foot each side. It's four-sided, 66 feet each side. Feeding into a 4.5 balun there.
Roger. Now, conditions have just changed a little bit, but if you would, just out of curiosity, take a look at the signal strength that I'm giving you now, and I'll let you switch over to the other radio. I'll keep a little audio going as you switch your antenna to the loop from your vertical, and we'll just see where the signal strength goes. This is the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. We are recording, and we will be checking in on YouTube in the next couple of days with the recording, and you'll be able to go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And when it opens up, you'll be looking for a session called My Group Aircheck. Date is 10/19/18, frequency 7189. So, Mary, how we doing there? I think Murray is still in the process of switching his antenna over, and we'll check out his. He's got to run his antenna tuner and all that stuff as he switches over to his horizontal loop antenna. Murray, was that you?
No, this is Kilo Delta 9. He's talking to you. You're not able to receive him.
Oh, Roger, thank you very much. Mary, if you got a copy on me, sir, I do not copy you at all. Zippo on the signal at this time on the horizontal. Roger, Roger. Mary, that's extremely interesting, because I would have thought, since that loop antenna you're running is primarily horizontally polarized, that your signal would have come up, because I'm running an inverted V, which is basically, horizontally polarized mostly. There is a little verticalness to it, but it's mainly horizontal. So I guess you're going to switch back over to your vertical stick there, and I accept that the fact that your signal should come up. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. Standing by for Murray as he switches over to his vertical antenna. Now, I hear somebody back in there. I don't know. Maybe the conditions just fell out, Mary. Go back to your vertical antenna. Go back to your vertical antenna, and let's check to see if the conditions just bottomed out, Roger. Anybody got a relay on Mary?
He's still talking. He switched back to his vertical. He thinks that the band has took a dive. He no longer can communicate with you.
Roger, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Murray, I guess we we picked the wrong time to do an AV test. did pick the wrong time to do an AV test. The bottom fell out. So maybe you can contact later when conditions get better, and we can try that AV test again. So let me say 3s to you now, Mary, and you have a good day if we don't get back together. This is KC9VKV with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio you want to check out the audio, give us a shout. Here we are recording KC9VKV. The Delta 9 station, go ahead.
This is Kilo Delta 9, Lima Uniform Hotel, and I'm up here around Peoria, Illinois. My name is David.
Roger, did I copy that as David? Did I copy the name as David? Is that correct?
That is correct, David. Delta, L-A-V-I-D.
Roger that. I'm just curious, David, have you checked your ALC lately, your ALC reading? I'm just wondering if you might be able to pump that mic up just a little bit if you consult your ALC meter. And I want to be riding in the middle to 2/3 position on the ALC. Roger, roger.
Did that bring me up any?
Oh, yeah.
I got a D104. I turned it up. It was turned all the way flat down. But the local guys say that I'm muffled when I talk. So with you, I have
Roger. Well, David, we do have conditions that are fluctuating, but I'll guarantee you, sir, that you will never be muffled on a D104. I mean, you know, my terminology for muffle is low frequency, woo, 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 you know. And a D104 is intrinsically, has a much brighter output, so it's very difficult to get that mic muddy. But when you brought that audio up, your signal came up, you know, almost 7 dB, Roger.
I could probably turn it up to about 30% just to see what it does.
Be looking at your ALC reading. Put your multimeter on ALC so you can see the ALC as you bring your audio up. And you want to be mid-scale on your ALC to 2/3, between mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC reading. Roger? Yeah, David, I think we have had more condition getting worse. Maybe it'll come back though. Try again, David. Yeah, it will be moving around, but I'll tell you what I would do, I try to run about a 3 on the processor. If you've got a processor that is 1 to 10, if you run about a 3, that's a very conservative compression level, but it will start to build the fatness of your audio system, Roger. And then it becomes easier to adjust levels on your ALC because the compressor takes a lot of the wiggle out of that ALC meter in its, you know, because of the processing, Roger.
I see. Well, here's my processor. Okay, I see when I turn it down. I'm new. I'm only a ham for 2 weeks now. And I've got a Kenwood ES850. So I guess I'll order that in order to play the knobs. But the processor is turned down all the way to the left. And now the processor's turned all the way to the right. Can you tell the difference?
Oh, yeah. I would run it just at a 3. Is that a 1 to 10 ratio, 1 to 10 reading on your, how much compression you've got, 1 to 10?
Yes, okay, and I put it to 3. There's 3 right there.
All right, come up to about a 5. I think that sounds pretty good. And then consult back to your ALC meter and be sure you're at mid-scale to 2/3 on the ALC. Yeah, you want to be about mid-scale on that ALC meter. I run a little bit more to the right than mid-scale, but I stay within the ALC max reading, Roger.
Okay, well there, I'll leave that setting alone.
Sounds good. I wouldn't touch a thing.
Thanks for your help. And I just got my QRZ.com log page up. If you don't mind, I'm reading your profile. Did you copy? I'll put you in the QRZ log and the contact.
Oh, Roger, just faded out right there at the end, David. Conditions are deteriorating up and down, kind of, in there, and then it's like about a 10 dB hit and comes back after a few minutes. But anyway, thanks for the shout, David, and I like that signal. You're doing well. Just out of curiosity, is that D104 an amplified D104?
Yes, it is. It's got a 9-volt battery.
Roger, Roger. Well, you're very lucky that it is amplified, because normally a D104 is a very high impedance element that does not work well into a modern HF radio because of the impedance difference. The direct out of a D104 element is a very high impedance, and when it works into a low impedance HF radio, it gets really tinny. But by the fact that you're running an amplified D104, you have a good match between the output of the preamp in the mic and into your radio, and the amp in the mic is designed for that high impedance element, so you have a really good signal, Roger.
Roger, I just switched over to the stock microphone. The 10-watt microphone to come with it. How's that sound?
Are you on that now?
Yes, sir. I just swapped over while you were talking.
Roger, I don't see much difference. Of course, I don't have that really good copy that I had just a few moments ago, Roger.
So actually you're hearing me better on the stock microphone?
No, I can't say that. I don't have that good a signal on you. You know, in order to evaluate somebody's signal, you kind of have to have a pretty good signal. If you've got a bunch of noise in there, it's really tough, unless there's a drastic shift between the two, Roger. But I would say that that stock mic audio modulation-wise is close to your D104, as far as signal strength. But if you really wanted to do it, you would have to do like an A/B test, and that would have to be like switching between those two mics within about 20 seconds to be able to get an accurate A/B comparison before conditions might change. Roger?
W4WZB.
Station, you're very distorted. Stand by just a moment.
It's distorted on my end too. Okay, well there you go. If you want, I can swap real quick, but you don't have a good enough signal on me anyway. So if you want, I can give you 73s and you can talk to the other guy.
All right, David. I think you should be able to go to YouTube and hear what you got there. You've got both microphones on recorded, so you'll be able to cipher which one you like best. If you go to YouTube within the next couple of days and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, on the QSO page that it opens, this QSO will be entitled My Group Aircheck, date 10/19/18, with a frequency of 7189. Roger, Roger.
Okay, my group and 7.189, but my group what?
That's the frequency 7.189, and then today's date, 10/19/18. Roger.
And it's my group on YouTube.
Yeah, My Group Aircheck. There's a bunch of those My Group Airchecks, but this is the only one that will have today's date. Roger?
Okay, My Group Aircheck. Thank you very much.
Roger, Roger. 3's that away, David. Thanks for checking in. And if you get a chance, we're going to try something about 3 o'clock this afternoon on this frequency or close to it. We're going to check out if conditions might be better at 3 as opposed to at 10:30 in the morning. Roger, Roger. Roger, Roger, David. 3's that away. Have a good day, sir. And there was a station breaking in. Station, come back.
Yes, sir. Good morning. The call is W4WCB, Whiskey Charlie Bravo. My name is Warren. I'm located in Sweetwater, Tennessee. I had my radios off the air for a while and did some rewiring to clean out some grounds and so forth on the AC side of the electrical side. And just wanted to put it on the air and
Warren, you just faded out, sir. I don't know. It was conditions kind of shifted. Come back one more time with your call sign, please. Anybody relay for Warren?
I might be able to do a relay on that.
All right, go ahead. Ask him what his call sign is.
What's your call sign? Station calling. This is Whiskey 7 Foxtrot India Zulu for a relay. I believe you're saying Whiskey 4 Victor Charlie Bravo QSL.
Roger, Roger. Got it there. Warren, conditions have just fallen flat. I have lost you. Maybe later on conditions will get better. Give me a shout when if you start hearing me a little bit better. This is KC9VKV with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG recording. Stations that are calling might be at my noise level. I hear some traffic down there, but it's actually under my call sign, under my my reading under my noise level. This is KC9VKV. Kilo Alpha 8 station, go ahead.
Roger, Kilo Alpha 8, a whiskey, a uniform whiskey. Handle is Bob. We're located in Sugar Creek, Ohio.
Roger, Bob. Whereabouts in Ohio?
Sugar Creek, about 30 miles southwest of Keaton, Ohio.
I'm copying that as Sugar Creek.
Roger, Roger.
Roger, Roger. You are probably about 3 dB above my noise level. You are about 3 dB above my noise level, so I'm assuming you're running, what, about 100 watts?
Roger, we're running some vintage here. We're running a Aircheck Titan 4 and running a slinky dipole as an antenna there.
Roger. Did you say a slinky dipole?
Roger, Roger. Slinky dipole up in my attic.
Well, now, I've heard that, and it sounded very interesting. I've got a friend that doesn't have any space at all as far as area to put up an antenna, so I had checked out the slinkies are great for, constant loading as you pull them out. You can get a lot of apparent distance out of slinkies, Roger.
Roger, Roger. Yeah, I'm really surprised how well it does work. It's like a double slinky together and fed in the center, and yeah, it works quite well for what it is there.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Well, I guess, maybe outside it might be a little difficult because as the wind would blow, your slinkies would kind of move around in the air, and I guess the SWR would be driving you crazy.
Roger, Roger on that. By the way, you're giving me like a 5.7 signal-wise there.
Roger, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And we are recording, so if you are curious about what your station sounds like, if you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, we will be posting this in the next couple of days. So if you go there and look for a session entitled My Group Aircheck, date 10/19/18, with a frequency of 7189. Roger?
Roger, Roger on that. Thank you a lot.
All right, Bob. Well, three's to you, sir. You have a good day and interesting antenna. Just out of curiosity, what bands can you work with that slinky antenna?
Pretty much, largely 4310. A little more difficult with the 80 there, but I do have a little Denton tuner that also runs through there.
Roger that, roger that. All right, let me let you go. I appreciate the check-in, sir, and we'll say threes to you. You're, like I say, about 2 or 3 dB above the noise level. Unfortunately, we're not doing real well on 100-watt stations at this hour of the morning. We are contemplating maybe switching to an afternoon situation, so we're going to do some experimenting about 3 o'clock this afternoon on this frequency to see if conditions are better at 3 than at this time. So we'll say threes for now. We'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV. Roger, sir. And I just pulled my attenuator off the antenna. I usually run about 15 dB attenuation, but signals are pretty light right now, so I have removed my attenuation on the antenna, so we shall see what we shall see. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor, with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. If you've got a radio, you want to check the audio out, give us a shout. We'll record you and post it on YouTube within the next couple of days, and you'll be able to go there and hear your audio. This is KC9VKV.
Whiskey for whiskey. Kilo Delta 9.
Whiskey for whiskey?
Yes, I have a good copy on you. You come in loud and clear. Guess you're out of Sweetwater.
Roger, somebody's got their Vox on. Sir, whoever's got the Vox on, you might want to turn it off because it is keying. Go ahead, whiskey for whiskey. Whiskey for whiskey, do you copy? It's KC9VKV. Whoever's got the Vox on, sir, please turn the Vox off. It's keying by itself, so you are interfering. Turn your Vox off. It's KC9VKV. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
That's Kilo Delta 9, Lima, Uniform, Hotel.
You were calling for whiskey for whiskey?
Yes, sir. Is this Kilo Charlie Delta 9? Yeah, Kilo Charlie 9 still.
Yeah, this is KC9VKV standing by. We're running our QSO-VLOG program for Friday morning.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was trying to get back to you. You couldn't hear him. And I thought now that you were checking 3, I would see if I could talk with him. But he had an old radio. He had just got up and running, wanted to see what it sounded like. And he was coming into me clear over here in Illinois. And Whiskey 4 Whiskey's out of Sweetwater, Tennessee. And he could hear you good, but you couldn't hear him.
Oh, roger that. Well, we got somebody in there with the Vox on that's keying as they breathe. I've asked them quite a few times to get out of the Vox mode so they're not interfering with the program, but apparently they can't hear me. But if you're running your Vox, please turn it off because it is keying.
Central time, or that's where you're at around Louisville? That's Central down there, right? Or is that Eastern?
3 o'clock Eastern, 3 Eastern time. Roger?
Okay, yeah. When you go southport Nashville, and then it turns into Central time. I remember that now.
Oh, it does. It does. That's a Roger. Yeah, we're kind of in that land of in between. Mainly we're Eastern. I think sometimes though we do shift. I'm not real sure, but I think sometimes we do shift. Anyway, 3 o'clock this afternoon Eastern time on this frequency. We'll check to see if conditions are better at that time than now. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio, you want to check the audio on, give us a shout. We are recording and we will post it within the next couple of days up on YouTube. And you'll be able to go there and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor. And that will take you to our QSO-VLOG page. And this program will be entitled My Group Aircheck, date 10/19/18, and the frequency 7.189.
Kilo Charlie 0, Sierra Hotel Victor. This is Kyle in Iowa. Do you read me, Jim?
I copy you. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor.
Yeah, this is Kilo Charlie 0, Sierra Hotel Victor. I spoke with you last week. Just heard not too many people on. I thought I'd call in and say good morning.
Roger, Roger. What's the last half of the call sign?
Sierra Hotel Victor.
Oh, Roger. Iowa, Roger.
How's my signal this morning?
Let's see. Well, I unfortunately I went to off my antenna attenuate, and so I am into compression, which I don't want to be. Let me dump my attenuator back on and come back and let's look at you.
Okay, now how do I sound right now?
Oh gosh, looks like about an 8 over my noise level, about 8 dB over my noise level. That's the best yet.
Good. I think I'm finally getting this thing dialed in.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Yeah, just out of curiosity, you're running what kind of antenna?
I've got just a random length piece of wire that's tuned with a balanced line tuner.
Oh, Roger, well, you are now 10 dB over my noise level, Roger.
That sounds good. Thank you very much. Well, I won't keep you long, Jim. I just thought I'd check in. I enjoy listening on YouTube, and it's a lot of fun. I appreciate it. 7-3s. We'll talk to you again one of these times.
Oh, Roger, Roger. Now, I was just looking at your audio. This is probably the best signal that you've given me. And I'm just wondering, have you ever tried about a 3 out of 10 compression processing just to fatten that signal up? In other words, right now it looked like you're not running much processing, and the audio is fairly unprocessed, and that would mean that your average peak modulation would be at 30%. Whereas if you were to run, say, a 3 out of 10, you would start the fattening process and then consult your ALC and run that at mid-scale to 2/3, and looking to reduce the dynamic range to about 4 dB, 3 to 4 dB dynamic range. It gives you a very, very good average peak modulation, Roger.
Roger that. This old radio doesn't have much in the way of control over compression, etc., I don't believe.
Roger, you mean it's either in or out?
That's exactly right.
Wow. Well, okay, then you could probably, if you went to your, put the compressor in and go to ALC and bring the ALC audio to mid-scale, and we could take a listen to it and see what we got there.
I'll give it a try. Hang on just a second.
This is KC9VKV with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG recording. If you've got a radio you want to check out, give us a shout, and we'll record you and post it later on YouTube. Right now we're checking and standing by for Iowa. Kilo Charlie 0, Sierra Hotel Victor.
Okay, I've turned down my light gain, turned the processor on, and let's see what that does.
Okay, now go to your ALC and adjust your mic gain for mid-scale operation in your ALC. Mid-scale to 2/3 on your ALC, Roger?
Roger that. Let me see. 1, 2, 3.
Stand by, station.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to work on this to get. I know exactly what you're after. My ALC is off the scale, and I'm going to have to figure out how to get that knocked back.
Okay, just to back your mic gain down. Turn your mic gain down so you're operating within the confines of the ALC reading, Kyle.
Right there, how's that sound?
All right, talk to me for just a minute.
Okay, I've got the ALC, or the mic gain, cut in about half of where I usually run it, and hopefully that will make a difference.
All right, do you have your compression processor in? Is it on?
Roger that, yeah.
And what reading, how much, you don't have an input control for your compressor?
Negative.
Wow, huh. That would be very unusual. Usually you do have an amount of insertion of that compressor. Might check your book to see where that might be. I can't believe it would just be in and out thing, Roger.
You're right. I'll have to check into the manual for that. This is an old radio, and I'm not sure that it's got the process off and on. That's about the size of it.
Roger that. Well, I might as well run with it on because it doesn't seem to actually be doing very much, you know, and unfortunately you can't get to the output of it. If you could get to the output and increase the input, you would get a better compression ratio, more compression than what you're doing right now. But in the interim, and check the book, and when all else fails, check the book.
Yeah, well, you're right. Read the instructions.
Roger, Cal. Well, let me say threes to you, sir. And again, we'll be posting, this QSO on YouTube. So, did you check? Have you heard your stuff on YouTube?
I have indeed, and I'm very pleased with how it sounds. I'm very happy about that.
Roger. Well, if we could, the thing is, right now you're pretty much, even with that compressor in, your signal audio-wise looks pretty unprocessed. So you're running full dynamic range, whereas what we want to do actually is close that dynamic range up and get it fatter, and when you get it fatter, you will sound about twice or three times louder than what you are.
Okay, well, like I say, I have to read the instructions and see if I can't get that. There's got to be a solution for that.
Roger, because now you are hitting 100%, but it's only occasionally, and it's a hard hit, I mean, whereas with a little processing, it would soften that and fatten that up so that meter would not move very, very much, it would stay up there when you're speaking, and that would mean that you're transmitting a much fuller audio signal. So let me say threes to you now, Kyle, and I'll let you to read the book, and maybe we'll try it next Friday, Roger.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks very much, Jim. 7-3 to you as well. Again, keep up the good work. This is KC0SHB, and I'm standing by.
Roger. Kyle, out there in Iowa, you have a good morning, and we'll catch you later. This is KC9VKV. If there was another station in there, go ahead. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. If you have a radio you want to check the audio on, give us a shout. We are recording, and we'll post our program on YouTube within the next couple of days, and you'll be able to go there and hear what your station sounds like.
KC9. Kilo 8 Whiskey Yankee.
Delta 9 again.
Kilo 8 station, come back with a call sign.
Kilo 8 Whiskey Yankee. Name is Frank, and outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Over.
Roger, Frank. Sounding good this morning. This is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike, and we're located about 3 miles from downtown Louisville on the Indiana side of the mighty Ohio River. Roger.
Roger, I didn't catch your name. Over.
The name is Jim, Juliet, India, Mike.
Yeah, okay, fine business, Jim. I just wanted to check the audio. I got an ICOM 781. I'm driving about 400 watts to a Heathkit 221. And just wondering how the audio sounded. I just got this station together after 2 years off. I just moved back here to Pittsburgh, and I got an off-center fed dipole up there on the roof, and I wonder how this thing's getting out. Over.
Roger. Well, you are 8 dB above my noise level. You are coming in this morning 8 dB above my noise level on my view meter, which is attached to the output of the receiver. I can't give you an S meter reading because I'm running at reduced RF gain, just below compression. So, you can't get an accurate reading in that mode, Roger, for RF and S meter readings.
Okay, Jim. Yeah, I just wanted to see if I was talking to myself or not. Things are getting back into my head after a couple years off of ham radio. I've been on CW a little bit, and I'm probably going to sneak up here onto the HF sidebands and see whether I can make some contacts. Okay, I appreciate the signal, the audio report, and you have a good day there, Jim. K8WY.
Roger, Frank. Like I say, about 8 to 9 dB above the noise level, so it's a really good signal, so you will be able to hear your audio real well. When you visit YouTube and do that call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, and when you get there, when that opens up, this QSO-VLOG will be entitled My Group Aircheck, date 10/19/18, frequency 7189. Roger.
Roger. Thanks for the info there, Jim, and have a good day. I will check that out. Thank you. 7-3s and K8WY. I'll be clear.
Roger, Frank. 3s that way, sir. Have a good morning. This is KC9VKV with the Friday morning QSO-VLOG program. Copy. Somebody uniform. Come back with a call sign, please. Uniform Foxtrot Mike. This is Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor.
Very good, Jim. Thank you for picking me up. The name here is Jack. And we're in Western Pennsylvania, QSL.
Roger, Jack. You're sounding mighty good this morning. What's your radio? What radio are you running?
Well, I'm restoring an old Kenwood TS530, and last night wired up the Turner dynamic mic, a Turner 250.
and I'm wondering how things sound, Jim. Over.
Ah, sound really good. Sound really good. You're running a Turner, a power mic?
Negative. It's not a power mic. It's just a Turner Dynamic mic, Model 250. Over.
Roger, Roger. Sounding pretty good. I don't have that good a copy. You're probably about 3 dB above my noise level. Let me come back and check. What kind of antenna are you running?
Okay, Jim, very good. I was afraid since I'm running barefoot here that maybe the signal strength wasn't strong enough to give me a decent audio check. The antenna is a Carolina Wyndham 40, but the Wyndham 40, the center is only up about 20 feet, and the end's about 15 feet. So it's low, but it seems to get out fairly well, and it was an easy way to get it up in the air, Jim. Back over to you, K3UFM. Back up to you, Jim.
Roger, Roger, Jack. Well, I've looked at my VU meter again, and you are 5 dB above my noise level. And what I do is I just adjust your voice for a 0 level, and when you stop speaking, wherever the meter is pointing, that is the number that you're above. So you're running about 5 dB above my my noise level, and I would constantly inquire as to if you've consulted your ALC meter operation. ALC is your friend there, and if you run ALC at about mid-scale to 2/3, that is 90% of getting good audio. The rest is maybe just a little EQ and maybe just a tad compression, but outside of that, ALC is a critical reading that you want to be sure, and particularly if you change mics very often. Always consult your ALC after you change mics, because not all mics put out the same. So when you switch mics, you might have to bump up your mic gain just a tad to be sure your ALC is in mid-scale. Roger, Roger.
Roger, very good. Actually, I'm at the top of the scale on peak, so I was wondering even if it was a little too heavy. But again, signal strength on your end will make no difference to it. How you can probably hear it recorded, but I'm keeping right in the top of the scale the way I have it set now, Jeff. I sure appreciate your comments, and I've enjoyed listening here this morning, and I will check out the website on YouTube and see what I hear. Back up to you, Jim. And I heard you're going to be on around 3 this afternoon, and while we're all free, I may check back in and see what kind of coffee I have at that time, Jim. KC9VKV, K3UFM.
Roger, Roger, Jack. 3 o'clock this afternoon on this frequency. Hopefully, we'll be able to go again for a little bit just to see what signal strengths are happening in later afternoon versus morning. So, last transmission you have faded down to about maybe 3 dB over my noise level. So, conditions are kind of shifting out to, signals getting a little bit worse. So I'll say 3s to you now, Jack. You have a good day, sir. Maybe if you get a chance to join us at 3 this afternoon. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Victor Kilo Victor.
Okay, Jim. Thank you very much for the QSO. Thank you for all the input. That's 7-3 to you.
W4WCB.
Roger, Roger there, Jack. 3, sir. Station, come back with the call sign again.
Hey, Jim, we're going to try this again. The band dropped out on us a few minutes ago. This is Whiskey 4, Whiskey Charlie Bravo. Copy now, over.
You're fairly distorted, sir. Check ALC. Check your ALC to be sure that you're not overdriving. You want to be in transmit mode and with your hand on your mic gain and looking at your ALC, and you want to drive it at about mid-scale to 2/3. Roger?
Yeah, that's about where it's at. This is an old Swan 500, and had it on the air. It's, let's say, an old Swan, so it didn't know how it was operating. He's got a good signal here into Tennessee, over.
Roger, well, now that transmission was pretty clean, you know. Before you were breaking up on peaks. Just wonder if maybe you have some kind of a dirty contact in your mic or something. When you come back, kind of key that mic a couple of times and let me listen to it, Roger.
Okay, real fine, Jim. Don't know about the microphone. Maybe some contacts on the relay. Microphone seems to be connected pretty solid, but it's an old radio, and I'm just going through some old stuff and seeing what's still playing. I may need to check some tubes. Over.
Okay, now what kind of power are you running?
Oh, it's about I've probably got it at a couple of 100 watts or so.
Roger, it sounds like your RF is getting in your audio. It does sound like your RF is getting in your audio. Kind of pull that mic away from your power amp and see what we get then.
Okay, I can give that a try. Like I say, there's a lot of old tubes in this thing. I haven't powered it up in about 8 years, and just got it back on the air this morning. Over.
Roger, that's a lot cleaner. That's a lot cleaner. Yeah, I think you've got a case of getting RF back in your audio system. So what you want to do is keep that, try to move downriver from the power amp, put a little space between you and the power amp. Maybe move the power amp down the table or something, you know, for the moment. Are you running a ground system?
Yeah, I've got a ground on it, Jim. It's just that's a braided wire that goes out here to about a 9-foot copper-clad stake out here in the ground.
Roger that, Roger that. And does the antenna move away from you in the shack, or move back towards you as it goes out?
Oh, it definitely moves away.
Roger that. Well, you're sounding pretty clean now. Have you looked at that ALC reading?
Yeah, the ALC is just barely pumping. I mean, I switched the meter over to ALC, and it, like you, I don't like to hit anything hard. And ALC's, it's barely, I'd say about a quarter to half range on it.
Roger, Roger. Well, you would be a little bit louder if you were mid-scale to 2/3. You would be a little louder if you were mid-scale to 2/3, but with your RF situation there, you know, obviously when you turn up your audio, you're more inclined to get more RF in your AF. Roger?
Oh, okay, real fine. Well, I took out, I'm going to bring the ALC up a little. There's more ALC. That's almost, on the average, about half to peaking on the top. Over.
Roger that. Roger that. Just out of curiosity, do you, if you tried your processor, your compressor, just at about a 3 out of 10? I don't know how yours is laid out. Some are 1 to 100, some are 1 to 10.
Well, pretty much the only thing this radio has is it's an old radio, and I can bring in. Let's see what I can do here. Let's bring. And there's with the processor. I don't know if that makes any difference or not. It runs the ALC way up.
Roger. Then you could probably pull your mic gain down a little bit to derive at a mid-scale to 2/3 operation on the ALC with just about a 3 on the compressor. Yeah, I did lose you all the way that time. Did lose you all the way. If you've got a copy, conditions have shifted quite a bit. Try it again and see where you go. Yeah, the old conditions have shifted there. I have you're in my noise. If that's you, you are in my noise. I can't copy you, so I'll say 3s for now. And maybe we can get together next Friday. We are going to try a little test this afternoon about 3 o'clock Eastern Time on this frequency to see if conditions might be better in the afternoon than in the morning. So if you get a chance, drop by about 3 this afternoon, Roger. All right, nothing heard there. So you have been stolen by gypsies. 3's that away, and like I say, if you get a chance, drop by this afternoon about 3 on this frequency, and then we'll see if conditions are better than in the morning. So gosh, it's about noontime now, so we usually do our QSO-VLOG program between 10:30 and noon Eastern on this frequency. So we're getting ready to wrap up. If there's anybody that wants a quick air check, give me a shout. Otherwise, we want to wrap up. Mike Hotel Station, I barely have you, sir. Roger, Mike Hotel. I've got my volume up all the way. I got my volume up all the way, and you are about maybe a 3, between a 2 and a 3 dB above my noise, but right there at it. Roger. Roger, sir. 3's that away, and maybe we'll have better conditions this afternoon at 3. I would like for you to check in, and because, like I say, right now I barely have a copy on you, and I'll know if you give me a 7 over this afternoon, then we might be switching our QSO-VLOG time to 3 or 4 in the afternoon versus 10:30 in the morning. So anyway, with that, we're going to close out. We've enjoyed the session this morning, and join us next Friday at 10:30 for sure on our QSO-VLOG program. Or if you get a chance, check with us on this frequency this afternoon about 3. And this program, incidentally, will be on YouTube. If you go to YouTube and do a call letter search for Kilo Charlie 9 Victor Kilo Victor, KC9VKV, that will bring up our QSO-VLOG page, and on that page you will find a QSO-VLOG entitled My Group Aircheck, date 10/19/18, and frequency 7189. So thanks to everybody who participated this morning. You guys have a good day, and we'll catch you later. KC9VKV will be clear.